Hi, Jim Van Zant, one of the pastors here at Carlisle United Methodist Church with Sermon in 3 Minutes. Thanks for tuning in today. Hey, it's in the middle of the Lenten season here, and we've been following a Lenten devotional by James Harnish called Easter Earthquake. And he makes an interesting observation I had never really thought about before. He makes an observation that when Jesus appeared to the disciples in the upper room, that he still had the scar prints from the nails in his hands and in his feet, which we've all understood and read, but never gave it much thought. They're there for a reason, we understand, and that reason, we later find out, is so that the disciple Thomas has proof that this is the risen Jesus before him. But he gets us to think for a minute, if this is the risen Lord who's made perfect, why isn't his body made perfect? The scars must be there for a reason. And that reminds us that the scars we have in our lives are there for a reason too. I did a recent scar inventory, those that you can see on the outside, and those you can't see on the inside, and many of those are far more painful, to be sure. But those scars do teach us some things. Number one, they teach us that life is painful, and it truly is. There are many things in life that some of the things that we do in our lives we do to ourselves, that there's a painful consequence to the sin in our lives. But also at times the scars we have remind us that we were just in the wrong place at the wrong time, or an innocent victim. And we deal with that whole issue of suffering. And we're so grateful that we have a God who can take our sufferings and point them and make some good out of them. The second thing that scars teach us is that we can learn from our past mistakes. When we look at a scar, we can remember, oh, don't do that again. The scar on my shin reminds me not to try walking the top rail of a fence from the front yard to the backyard. The scar on my head reminds me to duck a little bit lower when you choose to run under the steps. But there are more important things than that with the scars on the inside. The scars that we have from maybe broken relationships, from bad choices with our finances, to things with our jobs and our professions. All kinds of things that remind us that not only life is painful, but that our mistakes that we make need to be changed as we move forward into the future. But there are some scars that are very good scars. You know, I believe at the end of the day, when God looks at us, he doesn't look at our accomplishments, our successes. He doesn't look at the degrees on the wall. He doesn't look at our medals. He looks at the scars we have in our lives for determining to live like Jesus, to follow Jesus, to live as a Christian. Those are the scars that really count. And I don't think God sees them as scars, sees them rather as kind of love marks. Maybe you should do a scar inventory this Lent in your own life, but none of the scars you got from living your life, but the scars that you have for choosing to follow Jesus. You know what it's cost you. Maybe it's cost you something financially. Maybe it's cost you something socially in your relationships, your job choice, the way you raise your children. Who knows where it may have cost you. They cost you, but to God, it's a reminder that of what our sin and the salvation for our sin through the cross, what it cost Jesus. Hey, thanks for tuning in today's Sermon in 3 Minutes. God bless your day.